So why do teenagers act the way they do? If you're a parent, you've probably asked yourself this question, I don't know, 1,000 times. You wonder, is this defiance? Is it a personal attack? Well, the answer might not be in their attitude at all, but in the actual architecture of their brain. In this explainer, we're going to dive into the neuroscience that honestly changes everything.
Okay, so at the very heart of it all is this fundamental imbalance in the teenage brain. Let's break this down. You've got two key parts that are kind of at war with each other. On one side, you have the amygdala. Just think of it as the emotional gas pedal. It's fully developed, it's raring to go, and it's pushing hard for excitement, for reward, for all the feels. But then on the other side, you've got the prefrontal cortex, the logical brakes. And this part, it's still a major construction zone, and it won't be fully operational until they're in their mid-20s.
And this quote right here, it just sums it up perfectly. They are essentially driving a Ferrari with bicycle brakes. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. We're talking about a high-performance emotional engine with almost zero stopping power. That's not an excuse, it's the neurological reality your teenager is living with every single day.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the why, the brain under construction. Then, we'll get into decoding some of those classic defiant behaviors that drive us nuts. From there, we'll explore their intense emotional engine. And then, this is the important part, we'll get practical. We'll talk about how you can shift your role from a manager to a consultant and ultimately become their safe harbor.
All right, let's jump in. Section 1, the brain under construction. You know, if there's one thing to take away from this, it's to see their brain for what it is, a work in progress. It's not some finished product that's intentionally misbehaving. It's an active, messy construction site. And that explains so much of what we see on the surface. Now let's connect that brain science to the behaviors that can drive parents absolutely crazy. In this section, we're going to decode what looks like defiance, but is actually something totally different happening under the hood.
Okay, this is the big one. This one really stings, right? When your teenager pushes back, argues, and seems to reject everything you stand for, it feels so deeply personal. It's almost impossible not to think this is an attack on me and my values. But is it really? So, this slide gets right to the heart of that disconnect. On the left, you see what it feels like to us, a personal rejection. But look at the right. Here's what's actually going on. A critical developmental task called differentiation. It's literally their biological job to figure out who they are separate from you. And pushing back? Well, that's just how they test the boundaries to build their own identity. It's not personal, it's construction.
And what about listening? Oh man, you pour out your heart, you give what you think is just brilliant advice. And what do you get back? A grunt, an eye roll, or they just stare at their phone. It feels like you're talking to a brick wall. So the question is, are they listening at all?
So, believe it or not, the science says yes, they are listening. It might feel like your words are being completely ignored, just bouncing off them. But inside, those messages are landing. They're being filed away. See, in the heat of the moment, their brain is hardwired to prioritize what their friends think. But your voice, it becomes their internal monologue later in life. It's the voice that will guide them when they really need it most. So what about their inner world? I mean, if their brain is that Ferrari we talked about, this next part is all about what it actually feels like to be in the driver's seat, especially when that emotional engine is redlining. It's the classic stereotype, isn't it? The moody, dramatic teenager whose emotions just swing from one extreme to the other over something that seems to you completely trivial. Why is everything always dialed up to 11?
And here is the absolute key insight. This isn't a performance. They're not choosing to be dramatic. That supercharged amygdala, their emotional gas pedal, is just flooding their system with feelings, and their prefrontal cortex, their brakes, simply cannot manage the surge. They are, quite literally, overwhelmed by their own neurochemistry. Okay, this is the one. This is the one that keeps parents up at night. From sneaking out to trying really dangerous things, it can just look like a total failure of judgment. And you find yourself asking, what on earth were they thinking? Well, this slide shows you exactly what they're thinking, or rather, how they're thinking. Their brain's calculator is just calibrated differently for a little while. The immediate social reward, that dopamine hit of a new, thrilling experience, literally outweighs the thought of any long-term consequences. It's not a lack of intelligence, it's a powerful, biological urge to explore their world. Okay, so that's the science, which of course leads to the big question, what in the world are we supposed to do about it?
Well, it requires a pretty fundamental shift in your role as a parent. Your old job description is officially expiring.
You see, when they were little, you were the manager. You directed their day, you corrected their mistakes, you controlled all the operations. And they needed that. But an adolescent, they don't need a manager anymore. They need a consultant. Someone who listens, who validates their feelings, and who offers their expertise, but only when it's requested. So here's what the consultant's playbook looks like, step by step. Number 1, and this is the biggest, listen first. And I mean listen to understand, not just to reload for your response. Number 2, validate their feelings. You don't have to agree with them to say, wow, that sounds incredibly frustrating. 3, offer advice only if you're asked. I know, this is the hard one. And finally, number 4, provide a safe landing. Always be their safe place to land when things inevitably go wrong.
And this brings us to our final and maybe our most powerful concept, your role as a safe harbor. This is where you learn to see something that looks like an insult as the highest form of compliment.
But first, it's so important to just acknowledge this. This whole process can be painful. It can really feel like a loss. And it's okay to feel that grief and that self-doubt. You're basically letting go of one relationship to build a completely new one. And that transition, it's full of friction. And as you're navigating this one-on-one, just remember the wider context for a second. Think about their teachers. A high school teacher might be trying to manage 150 of these unique, developing Ferrari-brained individuals all at once. It really puts the challenge into perspective, doesn't it?
Which brings us to this idea of the safe harbor effect. This is a total game changer. When your teen comes home and just dumps all their frustration, their anger, their anxiety all over you, it feels awful. But it is not an attack. See, all day long, they've been holding it together at school with their friends. You are the one person in the entire world they feel safe enough to completely fall apart with. That emotional dumping, it's a sign of profound, absolute trust. It means they know without a shadow of a doubt that you are their safe place. They know you will love them even at their absolute worst. And that, in its own really strange way, is the ultimate compliment.
So, it all comes down to this one question. Because they will stumble. Their bicycle brakes will fail. It's part of the deal. And when that happens, the choice is yours. Will you be their manager? Or will you be their safe harbor?